She felt bad, but Chu showed no sign of stopping. Miss Chu, enough with your weird exercises. Is there anything else we should know? Chu straightened up as if nothing had happened. When we get to the Western capital, I think you'll find yourself living pretty much in the manner to which you've become accustomed on this ship. The only difference is that your instructions will come from Dr. Yu, one of the upper physicians. Yu, that was the name of the tan-skinned doctor. It was a reasonably common name, especially in the West. Maomao would have to try to remember it. Like I said, I think we will be spending a lot of time together, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask Miss Chu or Dr. Yu. Except at night, as I said. Nobody knows if the young Ma boy will be able to produce an heir, so there is a lot of pressure on me. The continued existence of the Ma clan rests on my shoulders. Well, okay, there is still a branch family, but... Chu looked downright desperate, so something could scare her. It wasn't easy being the wife of the eldest son, Maomao thought, though it didn't really concern her. She put away the last of the medicine. With that, they were done taking inventory. Chu stood up. We will arrive very soon, so I am going to go back. See you next time, Miss Chu, the quack doctor said, as if she were a friend just dropping by for a visit. Chu waved and was about to leave, then she paused and turned back. Miss Maomao, yes. Is something the matter? Chu could want many things. People lie in the palace just as much as they do in the pleasure district. There will be plenty of liars in the Western capital, so do watch out. I'll keep quiet about what happened, don't you worry. Then she grinned, and her dark face looked even darker in the minimal light of the lower decks. What had happened? Maomao wasn't sure what she meant by that. All right then, bye. Chu closed the door with a clack. Then there was only the gentle rocking of the ship. Thus Maomao arrived again in the Western capital. She could only wonder what awaited her on her second visit. Bonus translator's notes. The Apothecary Diaries, Volume 9, A Steady Hand. Welcome to Volume 9, or perhaps at this point I should say, thanks for reading Volume 9. Your friendly neighborhood translator is here with another peek behind the scenes. We have talked a lot in these essays about the kinds of decisions that go into creating an English translation. Today I would like to discuss how a translation reaches you, or its digital form. When I begin to translate, I start with a blank Word document and the physical Japanese book open before me. I then begin translating. I translate a section of pages from the book each day. I continue until I reach the page specified for the end of that part. Sometimes another stopping point seems more suitable, and these things are often flexible. This is, of course, a first draft. Before I let anyone see it, I read it over to look for any glaring errors. I also looked for places where I would like to revise the phrasing or make other improvements. I leave a bunch of comments as well. These comments might give more literal translations. They could also provide some background on a word or phrase, or they might include a web link showing where I got the name of a particular mushroom. Sometimes the comments are questions. They might say things like, I have used this word 3 times now. Can we come up with some synonyms? Or I know I haven't worded this very well. Let's talk about how to phrase it clearly. Who are all these comments and questions directed at? That is our editor, Sasha McGlynn. After I finish my first revision, and hopefully the translation is in at least a presentable state, I give it to Sasha. She then reviews it. In practice, this means I upload the draft to Google Docs. We can both see it and work on it there. Then I forget about the draft for a few days. I usually move on to translating the next part of the book. Sasha is hard at work editing the new part while I do that. What does it mean to edit? In publishing, this includes many stages of text development and refinement. At a traditional publishing house, several editors might oversee the different stages a book experiences. However, an editor in this industry often handles many different responsibilities. Some of Sasha's corrections are mechanical. For example, she corrects me when I flagrantly ignore the house style guide. This often happens when I leave commas before to or either at the end of a sentence. An example is Maomao picked the other mushroom too. She also fixes misspelled words. If I've picked the wrong homonym, such as writing council when I should have said council, she'll correct that as well. In many cases though, Sasha's contributions go beyond simply ensuring I've observed style and grammar rules. She also helps shape the text itself. This is a unique part of the editing process. It doesn't quite match anything found when publishing an original work, rather than one that is derived from another. The original story already exists in Japanese, so the translation team doesn't have much freedom. They also don't have the authority to make large changes to the plot or how it is presented. The team wants to make the text as impactful as possible in the target language, and a good editor is invaluable for this. Let's look at a specific passage from this volume to see what an editor like Sasha does. This will show how the back and forth between us helps create the final form of the text. When they returned to the ship, they found it very quiet. Perhaps everyone had gone out. The sailors were ensuring everything was in order. Meanwhile, the cleaners were taking trash from the rooms and sweeping the deck. The cleaners were a group of middle-aged women. They wore men's clothing and were industriously polishing every surface on the ship. Most of them seemed to be family members of the sailors. They also made the travelers' meals. If you have an editor's eye, you will notice a few things right away. For instance, the phrase "the cleaners" appears twice. There are 3 sentences dealing with them, for a total of 4 major clauses describing them. Sasha thought this could be smoothed out. She rearranged some of the material and changed the way other parts of it were connected. This would help it flow better. When they got back to the ship, they found it awfully quiet. Maybe everyone had gone out. The sailors were making sure everything was shipshape. The cleaners, a group of middle-aged women dressed in men's clothing, took trash out of the rooms and swept the deck. These cleaners were industriously polishing every surface on the ship. Most of the cleaners seemed to be family members of the sailors. They also made the travelers' meals. When they got back to the ship, they found it awfully quiet. Perhaps everyone had gone outside. The sailors were ensuring everything was in perfect order. Meanwhile, the cleaners, a group of middle-aged women dressed in men's clothing, removed trash from the rooms. They swept the deck and industriously polished every surface on the ship. Many of the cleaners were family members of the sailors. They also prepared meals for the travelers. Sasha made several clever changes, and one important edit was moving the description of the cleaners. This placement accompanies their first mention, creating a more natural flow for English readers. That and the way she has combined the actions in the middle of the description remove the need for one of the references to the cleaners. This makes the prose flow better and feel less stilted. Also, she has replaced the progressive form polishing with the simple past tense polished. Once Sasha has completed her editing pass on a section, I take another look and either accept or question her changes. Generally, I accept most of her edits, either immediately or after discussing them with her. In our example paragraph, I took all of her changes except one. I questioned the line, most of the cleaners seemed to be family members of the sailors, and also made the travelers' meals. I felt that most seemed reasonably described the cleaners' status as family members of the sailors, a condition that doesn't apply to all of them and is something Maomao can only speculate about. However, it didn't necessarily apply to their making of the meals, which may involve all of them, and which Maomao might know from seeing them work. So the sentence felt a bit awkward and potentially confusing to me. Sasha had a quick and simple solution to flip the ideas around. We ended up rendering the sentence as the cleaners also made the travelers' meals, and most of them seem to be family members of the sailors. This way, most of them is in the least confusing place, and the sentence as a whole flows better. After all of this, the final paragraph reads as follows. When they got back to the ship, they found it awfully quiet. Perhaps everyone had gone outside. The sailors were ensuring everything was in order. The cleaners, a group of middle-aged women dressed in men's clothing, removed trash from the rooms. They swept the deck and industriously polished every surface on the ship. The cleaners prepared the travelers' meals, and most of them were family members of the sailors. It is somewhat unusual for Sasha and me to discuss this for a light novel translation project. Usually in the light novel industry, a translator prepares a draft and sends it to the client, which is the publisher. Then the translator does not hear anything more about it until the book is published. Translators and editors do not often work closely together. This is often due to editors having very heavy workloads. They are frequently too busy to collaborate with translators, even when they want to. J-Novel Club both allows and expects their translation teams to work together closely. This is one of the perks of working on their projects. I firmly believe that the translator's perspective and expertise are valuable throughout the translation process. For example, an editor or a translator might easily fall into a language trap. A false cognate is one example. It helps if they can check each other's understanding. Sometimes I create a strange phrasing in English. Perhaps I am being too literal, or maybe it is just one of those days. In these cases, it is more efficient and better for the text if Sasha asks me what I mean. This is preferable to her trying to figure out what I was thinking. Having both of us present throughout the production of the final draft is almost always a positive for the quality of the text. This is also a good time to point out that although Sasha and I produce the English parts week after week, we are not the only ones with a role to play in the final draft. Once a complete book is finished, it goes to the quality assurance team for a series of final checks. This process involves having at least 2 different readers review the complete text of the book. Generally, quality assurance is not about making large changes, but about ensuring that every detail is correct. Sometimes this means checking for literal errors, and sometimes it means ensuring everything is complete in a broader sense. QA readers check for any mechanical issues that Sasha and I missed during the prepub phase. There were 2 periods there, actually. And Merriam-Webster says that word should be hyphenated. They also look for anything else they think might be a potential issue. After each QA read, the book comes back to me and Sasha. We review the QA edits and decide what to do about any outstanding issues. Only after all of that is the final version released as an e-book. The work of editors like Sasha and our quality assurance team is ideally invisible. You will rarely, if ever, be able to look at a finished manuscript and say, the translator did that line, but the editor clearly touched up this other part. In the same way that the translator tries to be a transparent window on the work of the original author, the editor tries to inconspicuously make sure the translator's work is serving the text in the most effective way. Editors are indispensable to a polished final product, whether you realize what they've done or not. The next time you have a smooth reading experience with a book, remember to thank an editor somewhere along the line. I hope you enjoyed this look at a sometimes underappreciated aspect of the translation process. Have fun and read widely and be grateful to those editors. We will see you for the next volume. Sign up for our mailing list at J-Novel Club to hear about new releases. You can also read the latest chapters like Volume 10 of this series by becoming a J-Novel Club member. The Apothecary Diaries Volume 9 is by Natsu Hyuga. The illustrations are by Taoko Shino. It was translated by Kevin Steinbach and edited by Sasha McGlynn. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual events, locales, or persons, living or dead, is coincidental. Kyusuriya no Hitaragoto. Copyright Natsu Hyuga 2020. All rights reserved. Originally published in Japan by Shufunatomo Infos Co. Limited. Through Shufunatomo Co. Limited. This English edition is published by arrangement with Shufunatomo Co. Limited. Tokyo. English translation copyright 2023, J-Novel Club LLC. All rights reserved. In accordance with the U.S. Copyright Act of 1976, scanning, uploading, and electronically sharing any part of this book without permission from the publisher is unlawful piracy and theft of the author's intellectual property. J-Novel Club LLC owns J-Novel Club. The publisher is not responsible for websites or their content that are not owned by the publisher. This ebook edition is version 10, published in October 2023. It is a premium ebook for Anna Darkwind,